Stand Taller. I'm your host, author of the book Stand Taller. My name is Alex MacDonald, and this podcast here is designed to help you learn how to pivot your beliefs so that you can stand taller. If you want to conquer your negative beliefs and start living a life of possibility and victory, then you need to follow the steps this book and this podcast share. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're gonna have a great time. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Stand Taller podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. They say if you give a man a gun, he could rob a bank. But if you give a man a bank, he could rob everyone. Whoa, dude, that's really not that funny because of fractional reserve banking and inflation and the damages. Never mind. Let's get back to the jokes. My wife beamed at me with pride and said, "Wow, I never thought our son would go that far." I replied, "This catapult is amazing. Go get our daughter." The other day, I got so bored that I went ahead and memorized 6 pages of the dictionary. I literally learned next to nothing. These jokes are intentionally bad. We're going to have bad jokes every single episode so that we can get you in the right mood, get off on the right foot, and bring down our defenses. Because I believe when we're having fun, we have a better ability to grow. And this podcast is all about helping all of us move forward, being able to stand taller, have more confidence. And I believe that these jokes make it a lot more enjoyable. So I'm so glad you're here. Each and every episode, every Monday at 5 a.m., you get a new episode. And now I want to share a story with you. There were 2 monks that were traveling, and finally they reached a town. But in this town, there's a young woman waiting to step out of her sedan chair. Now it was raining, and the rains had made a very deep puddle so that she could not step across without spoiling her silken robes. She stood there, looking very crass and impatient. She was scolding her attendants. They had nowhere to place the packages that they held for her, so they couldn't help her across the puddle. The younger monk noticed the woman, said nothing, and walked by. The older monk quickly picked her up, put her on his back, transported her across the water, and put her down safely on the other side. She didn't thank the older monk. She just shoved him out of the way and departed. As they continued on their way, the young monk was brooding and preoccupied. After several hours, unable to hold a silence, he spoke out, "That woman back there was very selfish and rude, but you picked her up on your back and carried her. Then she didn't even thank you." "I set the woman down hours ago," the older monk replied. "Why are you still carrying her?" It feels good to let go, not when other people tell us to let go and move on, but when we ourselves see the necessity of it. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or even whitewashing the other person's behavior. It means protecting ourselves from the corrosive effects of staying stuck. Chronic anger and bitterness dissipate our energy and sap our creativity. Each of us have a certain amount of energy that fuels our spirit. If 5% or even 75% of that energy is directed toward carrying someone who has wronged us or something inside of us that is not true, then that same percentage is unavailable to be successful in other pursuits. If anger keeps us stuck in the past, we won't be fully in the present, nor can we move forward into the future with our full potential for optimism and hope. We need to forgive a particular bad action when the other person fails to genuinely acknowledge the wrong. But we do need, over time, to dissipate its emotional charge. We need to accept the reality that sometimes the wrongdoer is unreachable and unrepentant. We have a choice as to whether to carry the wrongdoing on our shoulders or not. I think this is such a great story to learn from, to forgive others, but we also need to forgive ourselves and also realize that sometimes we have these limiting beliefs that we need to reform and eliminate. And so chapter 3 here on episode 7 is definitely going to help us with this. And I'm so glad that you're willing to learn about this and be able to stand taller. We're now in chapter 3, and the title of this chapter is Reform and Eliminate Limiting Beliefs. It's one thing to focus on and fine-tune your positive beliefs, but let me be honest with you, this can only take you so far. You have to understand that your total being has to operate at peak consistency for you to live a powerful life. In other words, for you to start to think and then automatically work so as to produce whatever it is that you imagine, it takes a remarkable amount of internal integrity and consistency. Unfortunately, if you have limiting beliefs, they end up holding you back and dragging you down. They act as pollutants that get in the way of turning your ideas into a reality that you live out. And these limiting beliefs can be quite addictive. Oftentimes, we inherit our limiting beliefs from our parents. In fact, we may have hung on to them for so long that we don't even challenge them. We believe that they are real. We believe that they are part of our lives when, in reality, they don't have to be. Also, limiting beliefs can be so ingrained in our personal realities that they're at the same time everywhere and nowhere. They're right in front of you, but you can't even see them. To reform and eliminate limiting beliefs, first you must find them. So here's 2 ways to find limiting beliefs. There's 2 ways. First, you're already aware of them. Regardless of how faint your impressions might be, you already have an idea that certain things that you choose to believe about yourself are not all that good. Congratulations if you recognize this. Even if you have a hunch, you are definitely in a better place than others who are completely clueless. The other way to find these is to find areas of your life that you're unhappy with. Trace them to your beliefs. Do you think you're ugly? Do you think you're dumb? Do you think you're broke and incapable of earning money? Do you think you're always dependent on others who are stronger or more influential than you? These are negative things, but they are not reality. Instead, what gives them the semblance of reality are the beliefs that they are founded on. Start with areas of your life that you're unhappy or frustrated with and trace these to certain beliefs. Regardless of how you do it, become fully aware of your negative beliefs. I know this might seem embarrassing. You probably don't want to go through this because, hey, nobody wants to feel small. Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong or they're engaged in something negative. But if you want to live a happier life, you need to get your ego out of the way. This is not a slam on you. This doesn't make you a bad person. This doesn't make you a defective human being. Everyone suffers from this. But if you want to live a life of victory, you need to overcome it by being a little bit more humble and admitting to yourself that you subscribe to certain negative beliefs that hold you down. To truly understand your negative beliefs so you can start working to undermine them and achieve greater control over your life, you need to commit to a 4-step process. You have to be both systematic and methodical about this because if you choose to attempt this based on your feelings, chances are you will probably fail. Chances are you probably would rather take the path of least resistance or simply give up. Again, it all boils down to ego. Most people don't like to admit they're wrong. Most people definitely feel uneasy and uncomfortable when they realize that there's something wrong with them. Finally, what makes this really difficult is you no longer have the luxury of indulging in excuses. The great thing about excuses is they numb us from painful realizations. If you're poor, struggling, not too bright, not too attractive, or whatever else you're suffering from, it's because you choose to be that way. I know that's an unwelcome conclusion, but that's reality. When you go through this 4-step process, you realize the power of your choice. It can be quite disconcerting and troubling to a lot of people because we would like to believe that our reality chose us, not that we chose our reality. This is why it's so comforting to have all these excuses at our disposal. Well, if you want to truly understand your negative beliefs, you have to let go of the emotional and psychological crutch of excuses. These have to be things of the past. So if you're ready to take the 4 steps, make sure you tune in next week on the episode of Stand Taller, episode 8, when we go into these 4 steps on eliminating and reforming negative beliefs. I'm so grateful that you tuned into this episode. Thank you so much. Next week, we'll have some really bad jokes, just like every episode. We'll have an inspiring story to help us grow, and we'll have these 4 steps of eliminating and reforming these limiting beliefs. So we'll see you next time. All right, the song we're going to share today is by an artist named Jules Marie from the Philadelphia area. She got the song called Bulletproof, and I think it's such an appropriate song for this because we feel this pain. We want to avoid that pain. We want to pretend that we're bulletproof, and it's just something that I think we can get lost in, we can learn from, And as we start to reform and eliminate these negative beliefs, we start to actually become bulletproof, because if we no longer believe those lies, then whenever somebody comes out with us with a lie, or our own mind starts to talk about one of those lies again, we can push it away. We can become bulletproof. And so as a part of the Culture Shift Challenge, I think you're going to love this song. Make sure you check out the full version if you're not on Spotify Premium, and check out some more of her music. It's Jules Marie, and this song is called Bulletproof. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you at the top. So